Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, he is a real American, which means he's had enough fentanyl to kill a horse. It's Shane Beauregard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, buddy. Glad to be here. I'm ready to roll tonight.
High as a kite, Florida man.
Yes, right.
You know, you got the whole the whole vibe today. That's what I want. Glad to see you, sir. Sorry to everyone out there for missing a week. It's largely on me. We've been obviously watching a lot of things on our end, but as far as what is popular out in the world, what is, going on, we're going to cover a lot of it. We're going to do a whole PTI rundown kind of a show here. We're going to do the RA rundown, 10 topics, a bunch of stuff here, including what's majorly hitting at the box office right now, which we'll do all the movies out there up top, and then we'll hit a bunch of TV topics, including some finales, some big time seasons that dropped all their episodes like they usually do on Netflix, and some other premieres and such. So we will get to all of it. But Shane, I want to start up top, and unfortunately you haven't seen this yet. And it's something you can't spoil because it's a biopic, but we would be remiss if we didn't come on this podcast and talk about the Michael Jackson biopic. Michael, which came out over the weekend, had the largest domestic open of the year so far.
Really?
I believe so, because it hit 90-something million domestic over the weekend, which was more than Project Hail Mary, and I believe that was the benchmark.
Okay. I did not know.
Am I missing something?
No.
I believe that's accurate.
Wow.
So
I would have never.
I mean, listen, I think Project Hail Mary is in the 300 somewhere range now, so it's going to have a lot of climbing, but it's definitely looking like it could have the legs. Especially this movie, more than anything, probably has an international bump, more because he was such a global superstar,
Right.
that I'm sure this will hit probably. It could possibly hit a bill.
Yeah, it's crazy. I would have never guessed.
That would be nuts. Yeah. Again, because this is the type of movie, we'll get into all of it. I saw it, directed by Antoine Fuqua, the man who made Training Day, and, his career has slowly kind of backslid afterwards. Like, you seem more like a guy who's seen enough Fuqua over the years. What was the last movie that you were like, yeah, I'm a man?
Oh,
King Arthur?
No, how dare you? No.
Because he had that terrible Paramount Plus movie.
Well, he did the first couple episodes of the Chris Pratt series on Amazon.
Terminalist?
Yeah, he did the first 2 episodes of that. He directed.
Okay.
Which I thought was, got that show off to a good start. But you put me on the spot.
He's got some Equalizer stuff in his CV, but Infinite is like the one that I keep coming back to, that I go, that's when I felt like this guy needs some help. Maybe he needs a little bit, he needs a bump. But like Equalizer 2, Magnificent 7, Southpaw, which I think is actually underrated.
I love Southpaw.
Those are all good movies, but obviously he peaked with Training Day. So
yeah, because even Southpaw was 11 years
all
ago.
All these seem like, yeah, exactly. It was like basically before my kids were born, or practically around that time. So that's insane. But Michael, let's talk about it, man. Besides making all the money in the world, it seems like audiences generally are positive on this movie, and critics are kind of raking it across the coals. This is written by John Logan, who, wrote freaking Gladiator, man. Like, this guy has written a lot of scripts that you and I have loved over the years. You're talking Skyfall, Aviator, Rango, Alien Covenant. I don't think maybe is part of the top of your list with alien stuff. But again, a prominent screenwriter who had a very hard task. This is a movie that you can clearly see was treated with one shiny kid glove. Let's put it that way. I mean, this is a safe crowd pleaser, has to be approved by the Jackson estate. They have their production, fingers and everything on this movie. In fact, how much do you know about what they had to do? They had to like reshoot the whole ending because there was issues with settlements that were made in some of the lawsuits and criminal charges that you couldn't ever put the children who were in some of these allegations or criminal trials, that they couldn't be in the movie. They couldn't have their likeness in any of this stuff. So they had to take out a whole ending. I had to scrap a whole ending that they had. So this movie, it bows out in 1989. And it ends where it says the story continues. So assuming that because this has made so much money, they're going to make a second one. But a shout out to, I believe Sean Fennessy said this on The Big Picture. It's literally like Wicked for Good, where they're like all the good songs and all the fun is in the first movie, and then the second movie is like the more tragic with the bad songs and like just more of a bummer. Like, this feels like that, because the whole thing after 1989, after, what is that, Dangerous comes out?
Yeah.
Or Bad?
Dangerous, I believe.
No, I think it's Bad. I think because Dangerous is, you remember the time and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think that's after.
Okay.
So they end, I think, with Bad.
Okay.
And you're talking, that's everything after that, like the Macaulay Culkin stuff, all the trials, all the where, how far his nose goes, everything. Like, there's so many things after that his marriages, his children, all the things that could be controversial are all not in this movie. So, and not to mention, if you want any kind of, I guess, judgment on the movie, not by yourself, is there's no mention of Janet Jackson in this movie.
Really?
Every other child, including a lot of LaToya, is in this movie, yet not a word of Janet Jackson in the whole movie, because I guess she asked not to be included. So if you want any kind of like lack of endorsement, or, however that works, that should tell you a lot. With all that said, this is an incredible lead performance from Jafar Jackson, who is Jermaine's son, who plays Michael as the older Michael. The younger Michael, too, in here, the more Jackson 5 level one, that kid is awesome, too. So if you want a reason to go see it, the reason is the performances by the Michaels are so impressive. And the recreations of the music videos and the concert footage and these songs that we just, I don't know how much you are of a Michael Jackson fan, but, the ones that we all grew up with, the high esteem of all these legendary songs, a lot of them are there. A decent amount, are there. And you get to even see the Thriller video recreated and all these things. That's incredible. It's so good. Those moments are good. However, you could just see like that they don't want to go anywhere past the surface.
Right.
It's really just, he's a big-hearted kid with a terrible dad. All these like basic things we know. But if you really know the story of Michael Jackson, this is going to bother you. You're going to be like, well, where's this? And why are they only doing this? And it's something to where, outside of Michael and Joe, the rest of the family doesn't really get a lot of, not even just screen time, but just things to say, a personality, a backstory. And even as much as Joe Jackson goes, you don't really kind of get why he is such a piece of work and why he pushed his family so much. Like, it just kind of is him. There's not a lot of stuff going on there. So it's weird. Coleman Domingo does a good job with it, and the makeup with it is interesting at times, but generally speaking, they do a good enough job with that. you got things like, Miles Teller is in here as his manager, and you kind of just go, what are you doing? Like, because it's not a lot of screen time. His hair looks insane. And he has like a scene that is like the big, prominent moment where he takes over for Joe Jackson, and has to break up that relationship. Outside of that, I have no idea. I'm assuming he has more going on in a potential part 2. We'll see, but I didn't quite get it. There's also a CGI Bubbles here, Bubbles the chimp, that I just wanted to. I was more offended with that at times than I was with some of the actual Michael Jackson story, which should tell you a lot. Because can you imagine? Like, I know you're going to see it this week, so I don't want to say too much. All I gotta say is, watch for CGI Bubbles the chimp playing Twister with Michael Jackson.
Oh God.
That's all I gotta say. Get the fuck out of here with that. There's also a very cringy scene with Michael where he unites members of the Bloods and the Crips to be his backup dancers on a music video, and I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I was like, oh, I forgot he solved gang relations. Like, oh, we're not going to talk about any of this other stuff. But there's a lot of stuff in here that, will maybe not bother you at the time, but the more you sit with it, you just go, God, man, if you don't do the other stuff, the bad stuff, or the, the salacious stuff, well, then the other stuff seems like, oh, well, then you really think Michael's a saint who just got wronged, which again is the Jackson influence. So you got a little bit of the Bohemian Rhapsody thing here where it's like, oh yeah, these guys were amazing. No bad happened here. They're all great, without going anywhere deeper. So there are moments in here like seeing Michael Jackson visiting kids in the hospital, young kids, and you just go, that's not going to age well. So like things like that are just like, what portrait do they want to paint here? And clearly they wanted a portrait of a person who was maybe, an abused guy, misunderstood, a ray of light kind of a guy who, just had a rough childhood and had to overcome a lot of things. So we're not going to delve into the other things or what he was doing along the way. That's where, like, if you start to think about it more, that gets tough. Especially, are you a person who's watched like Leaving Neverland or whatever that was called, or like any of the documentary stuff? I haven't either.
Nope.
And that's why I think like when I came out of it, I wasn't like super mad. But again, the more you sit with it, or if you want to do any investigations on your own, that's a whole other sidebar of that might bother you. But again, I'm curious if now they're going to make this second movie because the money will be too great, which is a motive for the Jackson family. However, how much do they want to go into the other more criminal history and the downfall here? So that will be interesting. So I'm curious to see your take when you see it later on this week. But something you did see, you and I both caught a couple of movies out in the movie theaters that didn't make a lot of money, unfortunately. You saw the latest from David Mackenzie,
David Mackenzie, yep.
the Hell or High Water director, who we really like, and Relay,
Coming
who
off
we
of
really
Relay,
liked. Yeah, so I was jazzed about this one when I saw the trailer. I think I sent it to you immediately when I saw the trailer. I was like, here we are, man. Like, what is it, Aaron Taylor Johnson, a bunch of other people that we like, mixed with a writer-director who we generally enjoy his stuff. What did you think of Fuse? Because it made only like $1 million.
Yeah, and I'll keep this kind of obviously spoiler-free. But coming off of Relay, I was really, we talked about it before, I was kind of amped up to kind of see this, and it has my boy in it, and Theo James and Sam Worthington kind of rounds out the cast as well. And it's not as good as Relay, or definitely not as good as Hell or High Water, but it is a solid, effort. This movie kind of breaks down into several different acts. Like the first, like obviously, for those who don't know, they discover this unexploded World War II bomb in the middle of like a busy London hub, and they're trying to
Mm,
evacuate the masses. Now, under this cover of evacuation, that's where Theo James's character and his crew are trying to steal a bunch of gold bars in the chaos of that. So, like the first 45
yeah,
minutes, it was tough to kind of get through because
right,
that's the whole them trying to detonate the bomb. And it just wasn't a lot of like that's where a lot of Aaron Taylor Johnson came in. And like to me, they didn't do enough character building for what they were some of the turns they kind of unleashed in the second and third act.
right,
Because the first 45 minutes is like them with the bomb. And then they kind of like shine the light on Theo James's crew and trying to steal the gold bars. I thought
right,
that's where the movie kind of started taking off. Is once they got into the actual heist part of the movie. That being
right,
said, you had good performances by both men, by Aaron Taylor Johnson and Theo James. And what I guess what I knock on it too is based on the lack of character development. It doesn't really that third act turn or whatever they go for. It doesn't really
right.
stick. Like it went
Mm,
for a little more shock and awe than it was like earned. I felt. But
right,
all that being said, it's a good movie. Like it's worth going to see just based on the performances and James and Taylor Johnson and just from the heist point of view of the movie, not so much the beginning of the movie.
right.
I think it's still worth the price of admission to go see. I ended up giving it like a strong three and a
Okay,
quarter if
yeah.
I had to cheat a little bit.
All right. Well, yeah. Listen, I'm gonna see it this week regardless because I love the combination
Yeah,
there that you referred to, and to me, when you describe it, I don't know if I got that vibe generally speaking off of the trailer, but it felt a little Three Kings ish.
a little bit.
Like obviously, that's in David O. Russell, it's a very specific kind of a director in terms of that. Plus that leading cast,
But that is a good
is
comp.
amazing.
That
But
is a good comp for it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good comp for it.
okay. I saw a movie that we talked off air, man. Over Your Dead Body. I have no idea how this didn't make any money. I mean, the number of theaters was a little bit low, so I don't know if this was considered like a soft launch and maybe it would go to more later, but this only made like $1.5-2 million too. So that didn't throw me. But this is the latest comedy from Yorma Taccone, from Lonely Island. This stars Jason Segel and Samara Weaving. This is a remake, which I didn't think about it at first when I saw the trailers. I was like, oh yeah, it's The Trip. This movie, who was the director of the recent shark movie Thrash. It's the same director. He did a movie with Noomi Rapace, who you like
Yep.
quite a bit, if I'm
I
not
no,
mistaken.
you are correct.
So they did a movie together called The Trip. It was like I think a Netflix original in the States. Like it had ex- exclusive distribution through Netflix for a lot of different regions. So it's kind of sort of a Netflix original, but not everywhere. Uh, but Over Your Dead Body is the remake of that.
No
You're
crap.
talking,
Really?
yeah. Did you see
I
The
did
Trip?
see it. I did
Yeah.
see The Trip. No
So did
idea.
you put that together? Like, are you now putting that together at least?
I am not putting that together. As you're saying that, I'm looking it up and I'm like, yeah, no shit. Okay, my bad.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's Tommy Wirkola who did like the Hansel and Gretel movies. Like I say, he just did Thrash. He's got The Trip, obviously. So he's got a bunch of good movies, and it's a good source material to take from. I had a lot of fun with this movie. This, if anyone hasn't seen the trailer, it's a dysfunctional married couple who retreats to a secluded cabin to repair their relationship, but each secretly plots to murder the other. And I'll tell you, man, I just had a fun time. This movie got funnier and funnier as it went along. There's some really scene-stealing performances throughout. The beauty of it, I felt like, besides the fact that it is genuinely funny, has fun characters. The guy who plays Todd, who is there's a plot part where once they both are kind of trying to go towards their own personal murder plots towards each other, it ends up into like a home invasion movie where there are criminals who have escaped prison who hide out in this remote cabin that they've gone to. And it's led by your boy
Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant, who, you know, is good in this movie. Everybody's funny. Everybody's super funny. But the guy who plays Todd, who is kind of like the sidekick here to Oliphant, and Juliette Lewis, who plays a prison guard who helped them escape, she's very funny in this as well. He steals the show. There's so many scenes. I don't want to spoil it because obviously with a comedy, you don't want to like kill all the jokes. But man, is he just doing all the sight gags. He plays like kind of the dumb brute of sorts. Very funny. I felt like it ended multiple times, but totally worth it because one of the stuff towards the end, Juliette Lewis gets her face blown off, and and Jason Segel pukes so many times, like projectile vomit so many times, that I'm just like, yes, please, more of that in here. It's just so funny. There's some later cameos that are really funny. And I'll tell you, man, I saw this as a sneak preview the week before it came out, and the audience applauded when it was over, and I wasn't mad at it. I've been at some of these where like people applaud at the end, you just go, really? This one?
Yeah.
This one, I was fully on board.
I'm jealous.
Segel and Weaving work out really well. Good chemistry. So fun. And you just root for the outcome on this movie. And I'll tell you, man, I mean, I am a huge Lonely Island fan. And for Yorma, who not only, I don't know if it was on this movie or not, he had to come off, like he fell off a ladder and like couldn't walk. Like he had to like get back to being like a human being after a while. So just for him to even make this movie and just incredible.
That's crazy.
Like this, he's a very funny guy. He directed Pop Star, he directed MacGruber, and he directed this. So to me, that's 3 for 3, man. That's
good.
Incredible. Not to mention the fact that, you know, he's in Lonely Island, obviously wrote for SNL. He's very funny. And I'm just like, this guy should do more. And I hope he does. But unfortunately, here we are with a very low box office where I just go, I don't know what to expect for him, but I hope he keeps getting more and more opportunities. All 3 of them are so talented in this movie. And if you want to say all 3 of them, when you talk about Lonely Island, because we had the 3rd member of Lonely Island outside of Andy Samberg, also directing Naked Gun last year. Like, these guys have the talent. And if we talk all the time, like there's not enough studio comedies, and a lot of them end up going to streaming because there's not a lot of box office to it because they don't get the support. I hate for this to happen with this. You know, Naked Gun made a good amount of money, but it shouldn't have to be that we get into this, it has to be a franchise or it won't work situation. I don't want every movie to be 21 Jump Street.
Right.
Like, because in the fact of they had to make it 21 Jump Street instead of just a fun undercover cop movie.
Right.
So if anybody knows that story, but yeah, well worth seeing. I'd give it a 3.5.
Good. I'm jealous. I'm jealous when you said you saw it. And I want to see it, but I told you here in the Hollywood South, it's playing like at 9:45 at night, one screening,
It's tough.
one time. In fact, I was blown away and shocked because usually it would be at least have 3 showings throughout the day, like a 4, 7, and 9.
Brand new movie.
Yeah. Nope. So I'm kind of pissed and I'm jealous at the same time.
Well, it's Michael. It kind of exploded everything around it. And we were talking off air. There's like 4 or 5 new movies coming in this week. So, and if I think certain things may have been limited last week, that might be going wider.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
This might get, lost in the shuffle, and that
That's
sucks.
sad.
Let's end our movie section on a streaming one, Shane. My review this week for what's on Netflix.com is the Netflix original Apex, starring Charlize Theron. And Eric Bana. I'll say that first, and then also Taron Egerton, who plays the villain in this one. Shane, I want to hear from you, because here on these streets, I did not give this one a very pleasant review.
No, you did not.
But if you look at the letterbox scores, and it's kind of at least getting middling to like pretty okay reviews from audiences, especially like the critics. I didn't see like a ton of what their reviews are outside of like David Ehrlich for IndieWire and some of the other ones where we were kind of aligned. But this movie, man, did you read my review?
I did.
I always ask this, and generally you do, but I never want to assume that you're reading my words. But did you like this movie more than I laid it out there? Because I gave it 2
You
stars.
did. You
for
sure?
anybody who did not read my.
And I was kind of surprised you
review.
gave it 2 stars, only based on the fact that I feel like we both seen worse in this movie. But I think considering the stars that are in this movie and expectations for this movie, it maybe hit where it hit for you, because you're right. And I echo a lot of what you wrote. Like, Charlize Theron pops here. Like, she just pops. Like, and my boy, and I love how the movie started off. I'm a big Eric Bana fan. And I'm like, because I watched the first trailer for this movie, so I didn't really know. I was like, oh, Eric Bana's in there. But I was like, oh, I know where this is going. Sure enough. And then, she gets, once she's in Australia, like you said, I felt like they're more interested in shooting the landscape in the mountains and the rivers and her kayaking and all that stuff. And I just don't think she was balanced out well with Edgerton's villain, who comes off as like a nice guy, but then has all these, I don't even know what to call it. Like, he just out of nowhere plays a psycho game with her. Like, that's where the movie kind of picks up.
Yeah, let's set the stage a little bit for people, because I'm coming into it where I've now seen it, I've already reviewed it, and you're now coming in to do your own. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is basically a survival movie where a woman, she loses her unclear, I believe, husband,
We're gonna
partner,
assume husband
relationship. I don't think they really defined it. Again,
Right.
a flaw with this movie where they don't seem to love backstory. But Eric Bana plays this her partner. They're like these adrenaline junkies, extreme mountain climber, outdoor adventurer types, where an accident happens. Eric Bana falls to his death, and then she goes to Australia. He was Australian, so she goes to Australia, and unclear why she's there. They don't really define it, but by the end of the movie, you kind of, I guess, figure out why she's there. And she goes, and she's not mountain climbing this time. She wants to go through these kind of rapids that are in between this canyon area in Australia. And she ends up meeting Ben, who is played by Taron Egerton, who kind of gives her, some pointers about, places to start and places to camp and all these things. And eventually they meet up along the way, and it turns into like a psychological thriller that has probably the backbone of a horror plot, but never seems to find any of those things for me. And it's so broadly lit and trying to be beautiful when this story should be like menacing, and it like the tone just doesn't match up at all for me. And Charlize Theron, I think, is miscast, because she's casted as matching up for an adrenaline junkie mountain climber, which I totally get, because she's tall, athletic, beautiful, like she makes all that. But then her opposite, Edgerton, made no sense. It seems so stupid. It felt like a circus monkey attacking her because she's like 6'2" or whatever and model beautiful, and Taron Egerton is like 5'9" and like and handsome when he's supposed to be like psychotic. And I don't want to spoil the rest of what he is, but as this guy who's hunting her down in the woods and trying to kill her. So what did you think of the pairing? Because I said to you, I said in my review, I think both of them are miscast. I think they're cast for their name, they're cast for part of what this movie represents, and I think maybe they're also cast to be like, oh, when we make the turn, you're not going to expect what happens because it's these two people. Don't care. It was a bad optic, and most of the movie is that, so you shouldn't have cast
I
him
would
for it,
say of the two, I feel like Edgerton is more miscast than Charlie Theron is.
What'd you think of the accent?
Um,
They try to explain it in a way that because he's a transplant there, that his
Yeah.
accent's more unique. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
He sounded like a leprechaun. And when he's Australian, he was undecipherable
Yeah, it's just,
at times.
and that's where like it fell apart for me. Like if they would have done the initial like, hey, you got to the end of the song, run. I was into it. I'm like, okay, where's this going? But then when it happens where he catches her, it's like then that whole turn to, like you said, like what his real agenda is. You're like, well, okay, I guess. I don't know. Like that's where the movie just fell apart for me. Then the whole third act kind of like didn't work for me. And I like Edgerton. I don't know how to pronounce Edgerton. I love him in most things he does, but like
I do too. Well, like Blackbird, we raved about a couple of years ago. Loved him in that.
Yeah.
Him and Paul Walter Hauser, the Apple TV series. But yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think it's a problem of cast and what they're. I don't think it's a them problem. I think there's a lot on the page that is not good. And I think situationally it gets dumber and dumber as it goes.
Yeah.
They don't really like.
They don't explain anything
give you
really.
What? No, like I'm supposed to. If you boil down what happens here, again, I'm trying so hard not to spoil this movie, but if you boil down like what he's supposed to be, if you like wrote down like this is who he is, are you serious? Like what was he raised like the fucking Jungle Book, but his mom was around and
I never got that. Like
they went to Australia. Why? I don't know. And was there a dad in the picture? And a lot of things are like, are you what?
Yeah.
And then for him to be what he is and the betrayals that he did when he was younger to become who he is and all these other things just didn't add up.
No.
And the dialogue gets worse and worse when they try to like psychoanalyze or have these like monologues that either of them have, whether it's Charlize or him. That's where I was just like, this movie's just bad.
Yeah.
So, and again, if you watch like the 30 minutes, it will lull you to sleep to be like, oh, this is a competent movie with some real kind of like thrills and decent action stuff. And then it gets fucking bananas the more it goes through because they overthought it.
Yep.
And it, like, if you try to compare this, did you get with me on the comps
like,
that like this movie wanted to be Deliverance, but then turned it into a fucking cartoon?
It did. But how dare you put cliffhanger in the same sentence as this?
I just put it where it's like it's a crime movie with mountain climbing.
I'm just breaking your stones.
But yeah,
but
no, there's no comparison. But it's like if they had a vision board, it probably had a lot of elements of XYZ. But beyond the fact that I like the director's password, I like Everest in some degree, and you know, some of these things that he's capable of, you can see why he got hired, but that doesn't make this a good movie.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's where it lost me.
At the end of the day, I again, based on the crap that I've seen, I gave it a 2.5. Like not much better than what you gave it, but I was a little kinder to it than you were. But I can see the 2.
You want to hear how I got to my 2?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I gave, say, like War Machine.
Right.
I gave it 2.5, right? Where I'm like, yes, this has a lot of stuff, especially as the movie goes on or whatever. But at least I knew what that movie was. And the movie kind of knew what it was. I just didn't like it. And I don't think it was well executed. But it knew what it was. And it knew who it had in its lead. It's perfectly, like, it's casted strongly because who else is going to play that role where people actually watch it, you know? So this movie, I felt once you start to like insult me or the dialogue gets so bad that I'm like cringing, I'm gonna dock you. I'm gonna dock you. So it's not like I had some huge expectation for this movie. Like just because I like people doesn't mean I think it's gonna be good. It's a streaming movie in April.
Yep.
How good is this possibly going to be? It would have been like something that could have surprised me, like how we were so surprised that The Rip was so good early and all these other Netflix movies that did well early. People Who You Meet on Vacation I liked, and all these other things. But no, this one I was just like, it's now insulting my intelligence, and it didn't know what it was. It didn't know what it wanted to be, or it didn't accomplish what it wanted to be, and it was really poorly executed. So I think that's why I dropped it down a half, because I could not put them in the same breath as like War Machine, which I know sounds stupid, but I was just like, I have to drop it a little bit lower to make a point.
No, I mean, yeah, and I can totally understand that and see it.
Yeah. But again, what'd you say, 2.5?
2.5. Yeah.
So I know what are we splitting?
Yeah.
what hairs are we splitting here? Either way, you hope for better from a movie that has two people who we genuinely like, and Eric Bana, which I honestly, I thought he was good. I thought the chemistry that they had in the beginning of that movie was way better than anything you got afterwards.
I agree.
So at least congratulations on them for that. Like I told you, the first 30 minutes, okay. And then it gets real bad. Real bad.
Quick.
Yeah. So let's go to TV, sir. We have a lot of shows here, especially that you, again, crushing tape. You know, you're always out here, or not out here, I guess, more trapped indoors, watching a lot of things. So congrats on that too. You watched the Pitt season 2 finale. This is obviously a huge show, and you've been all over it, especially because I believe, if memory serves, so you did not watch the Pitt season 1 when it came out, and now you've just kind of like inhaled it and gone all the way through with this one. So now, because you've done that, how did this show end for you? Where are you sitting in terms of season 1 versus season 2, all that stuff for this massive HBO show?
I was, again, late to the party, but inhaled it, and I watched this on a weekly basis. There's 15 episodes, which is kind of weird, but kind of not, because it follows the day shift through their time at the hospital. Right. Compared to season 1, that's a good question. I enjoyed this just as much. I thought, though,
okay,
when season 2 ended, I was kind of sitting there like, really? They're going to end it like this? Meaning there were some residents from the first season that I thought their story didn't go to where they were setting it up this year. And they hinted at it early on in the season, like with there's a Santos, like a Dr. Santos character, where she like cuts herself or has this issue, and like they kind of brought that up, and then they kind of wielded it back. So there were some subplot stories with some of the doctors I thought would get more shine in season 2, that didn't. But as a whole, I thought the season ended well, and I want kind of that night shift spinoff series with this show. But I mean, no,
I've heard that from multiple people.
Yeah, but no, Wow as the lead. I mean, as Dr. Robbie just crushes it. But it's just well casted, and they normally do give enough time for like you get every character's little stories, and everyone has their moment to kind of step forward in this show. Like, and I told you, it blew my mind, because this is why I don't really pay attention to stuff, is that Bryan Cranston's daughter is one of the doctors in this. I had no idea.
Which she's everywhere.
Yeah.
She's on like every talk show, everything, everywhere I go. Like I see clips of her all the time. That's why I was like, man, welcome to the party.
And they added Sean from he had a couple scenes from Shrinking in the Pit, in the back end of season 2. He's on the night shift.
Yeah.
He's one of the night shift people. So I kind of want to see more of that, but overall, solid second season. It does ratchet it up with the tension with what Dr. Robbie's going through and what he's going to decide to do. And just kind of leaves you hanging. So, but I mean, it's a great show. I didn't think I would like the show as much as I do, but I love this show.
Do you think it's going to be a dominant show once again with the quality of this season?
Yes, I do. At least I do. I don't want to speculate how many more seasons they're going to have, but I definitely think like third season, like, let's go. Can't wait. Let's go.
Well, I just mean as far as like Emmys and everything, like this was such a juggernaut all year long.
I suspect it to be just as it was in season 1.
Yeah, especially drama wise. I can't picture something else. I can't think of something right now. Again, we're kind of in the middle of it, but yeah, I can't see as big of a contender, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, they'll clean up, or they'll be nominated.
Yeah. But medical in a different way, sir. We're going to move on to Scrubs, the reboot. They had their finale as well. A short season. I was hoping for more, but again, they probably wanted, this was kind of like a test balloon, see what people thought about it, see if they still had interest. Obviously our boy, Mr. Lawrence there is incredible and everywhere. So, I don't know if he was spread too thin to commit to something larger, but I definitely, I sent this to you. This is a show that I thought just got better and better as it went along in the season. I thought they kind of did a lot of throat clearing in the beginning where they're just reintroducing where these characters are and everything else. But once it kind of found its footing with what characters work and who these new characters are compared to and where modern medicine is, and kind of getting some characters to kind of move to the wayside so you can get some larger storylines out of either some newer ones or the where JD and Turk are now. I ended up really liking this season a lot, and towards the end when you got some like past series, if you want to call it that, the prior iteration cameos mixed with a pretty heavy dramatic kind of turn a little bit at the end from an OG character as well. Man, I really liked it, and I like where this is going, and I really hope that there's more of this to come.
I agree. I hope so too. I enjoyed it just as much as you did. I didn't think it would be. It doesn't deserve. Like, I just didn't think it'd be this good coming back from where it was after so many years. I didn't have much faith in this revival, but no, like you said, it hit the ground running. You got where they are now. I would say though, like story wise and character wise, I felt like the person that didn't get like as much shine as I thought was Sarah Chalk character.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Compared to
she had like episode maybe 2 of the 9 that was like where she was more involved.
I thought of the main cast and the OG cast, like I thought there wasn't much paid attention to her, but I like the turn. I don't want to spoil it, but I do like the little emotional turn on episode like 8, like 7, 8ish with the OG.
And they do a little more with the finale, but did you think that this finale didn't feel as final? Like, correct. I really thought there was more to this season.
I did too. But we only get to 9 episodes, which is a weird number, by the way.
I was bummed.
It was bummed, but like a good shot in the arm. I hope we do see this at least back for another season or 2, possibly. Like, don't wear out your welcome, but like I said, with this team behind them and the success they're having with every show they're rolling out, like I expect it to be good as well. But thumbs up for me on the Scrubs revival.
Absolutely, especially because you know what I had in my head. Were you a Scrubs guy who watched at least tried to watch all the way through?
I did. I was.
Like even to the ABC years after they left NBC and then all that. To me, I think when they switched in those final seasons, especially when they tried to integrate new characters and everything else, I think that was not successful.
It wasn't.
And this, I was so scared was going to be the same thing. And if you're a Scrubs fan who went through all that and you're like, no, I don't want another version of the final seasons of the previous iteration, no, is what I'll tell you. This is better by a lot.
Okay. Because I rocked with Scrubs when I was on ABC, and I'll be honest with you, they moved to ABC. I was like hit or miss watching them. I wasn't like on board.
It's not good. Yeah. Or it's not as good. I mean, it's watchable, but like they really try to go, oh, this isn't the OG's show anymore. And they really went heavy into the new characters. This one's way more balanced, and it gets that they need those older, the past characters to ride this out, but they don't ignore the new characters either.
Right.
So I'm glad that it's that kind of balance. And to me, while it happens very late, I was very happy. I sent you the message.
You did.
The janitor showing up late in this it made me so happy. All of his jokes were hilarious. Every scene he was in, he stole. To say he was wearing a suit and he's like, it's janitor by janitor. It was amazing. I just laughed so hard. And I really enjoyed that. So that's definitely a show that if you watch the OG, watch this one as well. You caught the latest season of Beef
Sure
on
did.
Netflix. Get into that, man, because this is one of those things where I'm not some person who watched even like the first season was so well like touted and everybody loved it. The Steven Yeun, Ali Wong relationship there that season won so many Emmys. It was huge. Obviously, this is a new season where you're seeing a whole new cast and, Carey Mulligan, Oscar Isaac, Kaylee Spaney, Charles Melton. This is, this is tough to do kind of like almost an anthology thing to follow up. What did you think about season 2 of Beef?
Yeah, this was different. It's a lot different. So if you're a fan of season 1, don't expect going into this season that it's going to be like that because okay. So the basic set, everyone knows the setup of the first one. It was like a road rage incident, and they all try to
Right.
one up each other and who can do this to each other. That one was,
Right.
it just seemed to be darker. Now this one had dark moments, but that one had a darker tone, and it just like some of the humor was like just dark comedy, and it just like made you anxious all the time watching that first season. This one, not
Right.
so much. So like Oscar Isaac is a GM at this really posh country club out in California. Carrie Mulligan is his wife, and they kind of like she is like a interior decorator. She does something at the club, and it's one of those relationships where it's like they fight all the time, but they're still with each other, and just to kind of be with each other. They're kind of at that point in their marriage. And the young couple, Charles Milton and Kaylee Spaney, they work at the club. And there's an event
Right.
where Oscar has left his wallet and they go to return his wallet and they witness this huge fight at their place and they film it and they end up blackmailing the couple, Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan, so they can get promoted. And that kind of sets off the chain of
Right.
events in this season. So it's a weird, it's 8 episodes. Some episodes are half hours, some are 55 minutes. But overall, like once you get past the initial setup and you realize it's not that like, now there is some scenes where like the younger couple are trying to like do stuff to Oscar Isaacs and whatnot, but like it just
Right.
takes a lot of different turns and it goes into a different direction. Especially there's a portion of the story where the club gets sold to a Korean buyer, and that like starts a third kind of little story to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then at the end, with the way they wrapped it up, it's like, okay, it got crazy. I'll say like the last 2 episodes were reminiscent of the first season of Beef. Like it just started getting nuts, and there was like just
Yeah.
all this stuff going on. But I felt this season had a little more heart in with the relationships with the 2 main couples that you see here. It's like almost like, hey, don't wish or don't think the grass is always greener on our side. You don't know what it's
Right.
like. And it's like, oh, and then they do find out what it's like, and it's like they're not happy about it. So it's an
Sure.
enjoyable ride, but it's definitely a different vibe on season 2. But I love this cast more than I like season 1's cast because it's a wider net of actors, and I love Carey Mulligan
Right.
and Oscar Isaac. What can you say about them? Like, and I even like the young couple, like Milton and Kaylee Spaney were really good. So
Yeah.
it just was a bigger cast, I should say, not necessarily a better cast, but like I highly recommend it, man. Like it was really good, and it again, just get ready for a little different, and the end is still bonkers. I'm still trying to process the very last episode.
Okay. Because, yeah, I've definitely heard mixed reviews on this particular season. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. A lot of people who I respect their TV opinions do like it and rode with it more than, there were some outliers in terms of the critical bodies who did not like this one as much. It wasn't as well received as the first season. So I'm glad to hear that. And especially because it is self-contained, I don't need to go back and watch season 1. I'm way more apt to watch this than having the homework of going back. So I like to hear that. Another show that I'm interested in that you have started as well, Margot's Got Money Troubles on Apple TV Plus. Give me your perspective on this one, because I've seen kind of the trailer, the preview for this one, and I like that it definitely feels more modern. I like the cast. You have Elle Fanning, Nick Offerman, Greg Kinnear, Michelle Pfeiffer, a lot of people in here that I like. This is about a young mother struggling to make ends meet when her estranged father offers help. She starts an OnlyFans account using his advice from pro wrestling. This is from David E. Kelly, a guy we've liked in the past, especially, presume innocent for whatever it was the last vehicle I believe he did for Apple TV Plus. And I don't know, man. Like I when I watched the trailer, I was kind of mixed on it, but it does have an extremely modern take on a lot of things going on right now with people in terms of finances and the desperation and kind of the online culture and how we sell ourselves and what kind of jobs are available in this kind of modern life. So, what did you think of Margot's Got Money Trouble?
Right now I'm rolling with it. It's off to, I wouldn't say a slow start because the cast is so good in here, but I'm waiting for it to pick
Mm,
up just a little bit of steam. Like the first
right.
episode, it's a good setup. You get a young elfin who's a student and she gets knocked up by her professor. No spoiler there. I mean,
Mm,
that's who it is. And she decides to keep the baby. Michelle Pfeiffer was an ex like Hooters waitress and had her and kept telling her like you
right.
don't want to keep the baby. Like this is what happens. So she's telling her
Yeah.
not to, but she decides to anyway. But it does put in like you feel her struggle in her trying to deal because she's has these roommates and Michelle Pfeiffer doesn't really want to help out. She can't get a job, and it's so it really does put a
Right.
light. But when Nick Offerman kind of makes his presence known in episode 2 to me is when he this show kind of takes off because he plays an ex
Okay.
wrestler like WWE heavyweight champ who's just coming out of rehab of like
Mm,
heroin and smack and just all kinds of stuff. And when he shows up with his baggage and he wants to be included in her life, and I think that's where the show kind of picks up. And yeah, he gives
right.
her the idea of OnlyFans, not like to do it, but like as an off thing, like one of the female wrestlers made more money on OnlyFans than wrestling. And
Right.
that caught her
Right.
attention. Yeah. And it is funny when once she gets into that dynamic of doing the shit for OnlyFans, yeah, it also gets good
Right.
too. So it takes a little while to get
Oh, good.
cooking, but it's definitely a show worth watching. It's only a half hour too. It's a short show.
Yeah. No, that's what intrigued me too, because I think there's a few episodes they dumped to start. Was it 2 or 3
Three.
as like an initial? And then yeah, I think they're on episode what, 4 or
Yeah,
5 by now?
five. Yep. And you get a guest cameo
Yeah.
by Nicole Kidman's in here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the cast is like good, man. It's good to see Greg Kinnear. I haven't like I don't know why. I felt like I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh yeah, I couldn't it, something small maybe,
Yeah.
like nothing to where he was a star at least, I could say that much. But I'm glad you liked it. That is a show that I am intrigued on as well. As we mentioned, uh, Apple TV Plus just keeps loading up and firing out new shows, new content all the time. So that is definitely one that I want to check out as well. Speaking of wrestling superstars, you caught the Hulk Hogan Real American docuseries on Netflix. This is one of those things at least we overlap at least in this way. I haven't watched wrestling religiously in any kind of way since I was, probably a young teen
Hmm.
at best. But Hogan was my era. And all the people that are like featured prominently in here during that time, like I'm very familiar. So if any kind of like wrestling doc stuff, this one did appeal to me. So it is something that I do want to check out. What did you think about this one? Because sometimes when you have these ones where it's made in conjunction with WWE or that you're going to get this maybe rosier version of events and maybe it doesn't go as deep. But what did you think about this particular doc for Hulk
I
Hogan?
mean, if you're a wrestling fan, you're gonna dig it. Like it's just and
Okay.
hey, listen, I know, like you said, we overlap. I'll let you in a little secret. When I was into wrestling, like big time back in the day, I
Hmm.
fucking hated Hulk Hogan. I was not like taking my
Mm.
vitamins and saying my prayers. I was always
Right.
like
Yeah.
root for Paul Orndorff for Macho Man, like fuck Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Hated that guy.
Ultimate Warrior, baby.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
hated him. But no, as far as documentary goes, the only problem I have is it was nice to see some of his family footage or some things that I just didn't know about him. Like the first episode of me is like the best episode of the four. I think it's 3 or 4. the rise of him starting out in his family and how dirt poor he was. Like I didn't know, and I watched a lot of documentaries.
Right.
I just didn't get that part of it. But once you got
Right.
into like his popular Hulkamania and then the NWO turn, and then, but yeah, they didn't get as deep and dirty as they could have if this was say like
Mm,
there's another docu series like in IFC channel or something like Dark Side of Wrestling. Like it
yeah.
that to me is like a great documentary series because they get into it. But you know, if you're a Hulk fan of the era, that it's a nice nostalgia walk down nostalgia lane to kind of see this documentary. I liked it. Again, I'm a
Right.
sucker for sports documentaries and any kind of wrestling doc I want to watch.
Same.
Well, like you
Sure.
said, they could have done them a little dirtier if they wanted to, but they did go into some stuff. I don't want to spoil, but they did go into it. But to me, the first
Yeah.
episode is the one that I was just like, "Whoa, I didn't know that," or "I didn't know that," or well, everything else I
Yeah.
kind of knew. And if you follow them, then you kind of know. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely
The family stuff is what intrigued me
yes.
because a lot of the actual wrestling
You
subplots
know all
and some
that
of his
stuff, right?
struggles, I know a lot of that stuff, but the family stuff because I remember watching what was it, a VH1 show? Like the Brooke
Yeah,
Hogan thing that, like, featured the I watched a decent amount of that, and, to see even there's the trailer for this, like, them previewing it, there was a lot of, like, this is when we had enough and kind of where their family split apart and things like that, so that's what I would wanna know.
yeah.
So part of me wanted to just like, I'll just start at episode 4, or I'll only watch episode 4 or something, but,
You could
is it worth watching all of it?
honestly,
Yeah.
you could watch for someone like I would watch the first episode and watch the last one. Like the
Yeah,
stuff with
okay.
NWO and Hulkamania and WrestleMania 3, like I've seen that stuff 1,000 times. There's no new
Yeah,
light shed
totally.
on that, but
Right.
good start and good bookend. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
that's a
No, I dig that. So yeah, it's a good thing to know in case I'm trying to go for time here. But it's only 4
yeah.
parts. If you're into it, you'll probably end up just going to next episode like we do with every other Netflix thing. So that'll probably end up happening at some point this week for myself. Let's end on The Boys, sir, because R.I.P. Gen
Oh
V.
man.
Unfortunately, this show that we enjoyed. I mean, the second season I think was not as successful as the first, but there's still a lot of characters and things that we really liked, and that campus that I thought was refreshing in terms of a different view on the boys universe. But we're in, I'll say this. I mean, I'm enjoying this season of The Boys still. We're what, episode 5, 6? Yeah. With 6 coming this week. So I'm enjoying how it is thus far. I think it's probably one of the better than last
Oh,
year
for
or
sure.
last season, excuse me. And, probably the best it's been in a little while because it's straight to the point, has a definite focus. Whether some of the Homelander Jesus stuff is working or not, we can get into that at some point. But I'm definitely in on this season, very much looking forward to it. How are you feeling about it before we kind of
Yeah,
move
I
on? Because
feel
some of the stuff in this season is also tipping to stuff they have going on in the future too.
right. I'm like you said, I echo like this last episode I really liked with them going to the Fury virus or whatever they also are turning on each other. I thought that was funny as
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I liked it. Like I'm digging this season so far. But like you said, the whole Homelander Jesus God thing, I don't know about that. And him seeing,
Yeah.
the illusion of the oh God, what's her name? You know who I'm talking about.
His mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a little weird, but that little misstep away, yeah, I'm fully on board this season.
Yeah. I'm the same way. But one of the subplots that they are doing is Soldier Boy is back. Your boy
Yep.
Eccles. We mentioned him when we first started covering this season for the boys. And they've talked a lot about this version of the
V1.
the yeah, so V1, which is a compound that was in the original soups that isn't in someone like Homelander and Beyond and all the current soups that we see now. So a lot they talk about the original Vought labs and how this was created, and things that they're going to talk about where the original Soldier Boy stuff and Stormfront as we knew her, but it used to be Liberty, is kind of the nexus of this new show that they're doing called Vought Rising, which I think is part of the reason why they canceled Gen V, because I think they kind of already got what they needed with that, where they can kind of supplement it with the boys. But now that the boys is gone, maybe it's less appealing for them to do another season. I just felt like they deserved one more season to just kind of recap all the storylines and kind of go. But you mentioned like maybe, a movie is coming, or maybe there's more to this season where like maybe they'll tie in some of the Gen V stuff. So that's a possibility, of course. But what do you think about like Vought Rising and where that's maybe gonna go and maybe as a replacement for Gen V?
And, at the end of the day, I trust all these showrunners, so I think it'll be ultimately fine.
Same.
I think it'll be fine.
Kripke,
Yeah.
Kripke,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it'll be ultimately fine. I think what bothers me the most is, like you said, season 2 of Gen V wasn't as good as season 1, but I did like some of the stories they're developing. They definitely Monroe, whatever her name is, stepped more out to the forefront. I liked where she was going. I just thought they deserved one more season to kind of, like you said, put a cap on these storylines, or at least infuse it more into the boys, what we're getting now. Because I feel like they're still a little too separate. You know what I mean? They want to intertwine it, but they're not really intertwined. It's like they're dancing with it and playing with it, and they won't commit to it.
Yeah. With the first season with Homelander being there at the end, and then Starlight kind of being in and out of season 2 a little bit. And yeah, it's definitely kind of on the border, working within, but not ultimately
or even
crossing
like
over.
Sister Sage coming back. Homelander makes some off-key remark about her relationship with Godolkin. You know what I mean?
Godolkin, yeah.
And it's like, that's all you're gonna? Okay, whatever, man. So I don't know. But like I said, with Vought Rising, with my boy Eccles and everything, like, hey man, like, let's go. I think it'll be more boys-ish, obviously.
Did you hear the description?
No, I did not. I can only imagine.
So they said that imagine if the Boys creators made a show that's like an Elmore Leonard LA Confidential period crime kind of a piece.
Oh.
That's what they described it as.
Wow.
So with you have Eccles and you have, Stormfront as her original Foreign Liberty, however her incarnation going back with that character too. That's a good framework.
That is a good.
So I'm in on the idea of it. I just want to see, again, execution is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have confidence they'll get it done.
Same. So I hope this final season really ends well. It's got me in right now. It's spinning its wheels a little bit, but at least it's entertaining while it's doing it. And it seems to be more focused than previous seasons. So I love that. For next week, we have, like I said, a bunch of movies coming out. I know I will, and I don't want to challenge Shane to do the same, but I will end up watching Devil Wears Prada 2. That is the big movie of the week. So that will be coming out. There's a bunch of other smaller movies like Hogan, horror movies that we've been kind of keeping our eye on. That's from the director of Oddity, which I thought that movie had strong visuals. I didn't love its story through on through, but I'm hoping that Hogan will be an improvement on that. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff I want to catch up with. I do want to watch Fuse, as you laid out. I definitely have my eye on Mother Mary and a few other movies that slipped past this past week, on top of new stuff coming through this week. So are you interested in the RZA movie that's kind of, is it produced by Quentin Tarantino or had money backing?
I think it had money backing. I have to look into it. But I am, I mean, it's not my first 3 to see because I'd rather see Hogan and some other movies. But yeah, I mean, that's a movie that I'll at least give it some shots, pay attention to it a little bit. I like that kind of genre stuff. And I think RZA does have a respect for martial arts and that sort of background. So I think he would do a good job with this type of movie. So I trust him. I trust the RZA to do a good job here.
I did too, but I'm trying. I'm The Man with the Iron Fist was a letdown for me, though.
Yeah, I didn't mind that movie.
That's where I kind of go, it's fine. It's not well written, but the visuals were good and the action sequences were pretty good. So it's fine. So I'm hoping this is an improvement on that. I don't know if we're going to get there, but again, it's my type of movie. So I might take an afternoon. This might be a 5 o'clock or whatever, like, try to waste an early evening or afternoon and just, see some dudes getting beat up. So I'm fine with
Right.
that because, Wu-Tang,
Yeah.
Wu-Tang forever. So I will definitely try to check that one out. So we'll have plenty to talk about next week in terms of what's out at the box office, as well as maybe some other stuff that we might keep our eye on in terms of TV and other things as well. So be sure to come back next week for more recent activity.